Hey there, I want to thank you so much for joining me for this week's edition of Mondays with Mike here on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Iskovitz. So today in our rundown, got a lot of stuff to talk about. Big week here in Houston, as you know. Kickoff of the rodeo. We've got the barbecue cook-off, technically called the World's Championship Barbecue Contest. That's coming up on Thursday. We've had the trail riders coming in on Friday. We got the carnival, opening this weekend. All kind of good stuff. Got the animals, coming into the livestock show, and so we're going to talk about the weather for that. So let me go ahead and share with you the rundown of sort of the contents of what we're going to be talking about today, and that begins with sailing havoc in Australia. Wait till you see what happened down there. It's pretty wild weather there. We also are under a solar storm warning. Did you know that? Yeah, there's actually a space weather forecast. So we'll talk about that. The sighting of another mysterious balloon, maybe. We're also looking for an unusually warm pattern for this time of the year. And then at the end, I'm going to share with you an interview that I did with an American inventor and inventor's advocate, and how that kind of ties into the Chinese spy balloon and sort of our rivalry with them, if you will. So let's start out with talking about the sailing havoc in Australia. So what I'm showing you right here is a video. This is actually a Reuters video. Well, look what happens here. There was here we go. There was a squall that moved through. Now, remember, it's summertime down there in the Southern Hemisphere, but look what happened. Look at the tent, and they're having a big sailing race down there, a regatta. It's a really big deal. And there was this squall that came through, very high winds, knocked the sails off of these catamaran boats, and destroyed one of them, as you can see right there. And these things are certainly not cheap. The high winds obviously canceled the race, but I mean, look how frightening that is. So people running for cover, not knowing what to do. I'm sure at some point somebody said crikeys. I mean, you could definitely count on that happening. And this is a look at what those boats look like when the sail has not been ripped off of them by high winds. So that's what they look like. USA, the Emirates. Well, actually, it looks like that's a British. There's USA, there's Britain, Canada, New Zealand, among others. So they had to go ahead and stop that race for a while until the thing passed. These boats are pretty crazy because the way they sit in the water, it's a catamaran. So like the what do I know about sailing? Just trust me. Instead of the body of the boat being in the water, there's it makes very little contact with the water. The boat does, which cuts down on drag and makes them go a lot faster. So that's what's going on with that. Now, let's talk about the solar storm and the fact that we're under a solar storm warning. Did you know that? Well, it's not exactly the kind of thing that pops up, on your weather app, or your Fox 26 weather app, which you should get. Well, I don't think that we push that information about solar warnings. But here's the deal. So let me go ahead and click on this. And so this is an article from space.com. Nice free advertising there for Best Buy, by the way. So what happened was that earlier this week, at the end of last week, there was what is known as an X 2.2 class solar flare that erupted back on February the 17th. So that was Friday. And as a part of this solar flare, there was this coronal mass ejection. And so you get this big burst of charged particles coming from the sun, moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And primarily, this can affect things like GPS. It can affect communication satellites. But it looks like with this one, the warning that was issued, and by the way, there is a Space Weather Prediction Center from NOAA. That would be a cool job, wouldn't it? That'd be a really cool job. So anyway, they're saying this thing at this velocity, 740 kilometers per second. Can you imagine that? Yowzer. So this type 2 emission is, let's see, an X-ray event exceeded X1. All this good stuff on the scale. It's rated as an R3, which is strong. However, they're saying that it's primarily going to affect high latitudes. So the North Pole and the South Pole, or the Arctic Circle up there, they'll see the most of it. And most likely they will have very bright northern lights and southern lights. All right. Now for the balloon. You know how interested I am in the balloons. So there was a sighting of a large white balloon over Honolulu, or I should say near Hawaii. The pilots were flying in and out of Honolulu. And this, what you're seeing here in the middle of your screen, was actually a notice that went out to the pilots. It looks like a receipt to me. But if you read it, it says, report of a large white balloon in the vicinity of, and then it gives coordinates, north and west coordinates, estimated to be between flight level 400, flight level 500. So that's between 40,000 and 50,000 feet, which is above where any of these airplanes would be flying. But it's at a very similar altitude to where the notorious Chinese spy balloon was spotted, between about that 40 to 50,000 foot in the stratosphere layer. So it says, precise altitude unknown, advise air traffic control if the object is seen. So, and this is approximately where it was located out there. It says it was 600 miles northeast of Hawaii. This is according to the Daily Mail in the UK. Which, by the way, I looked up American news sources and I didn't really hear much about this, which, you know, make of that what you will. Finally, I want to talk about Rodeo, Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. If you're new to the area, let me tell you, prepare for the biggest event of the year. This is a 3-week long. It's the biggest event that happens here in Houston. We got a carnival. We got a bunch of animals. We got baby animals. We've got mutton busting, you know, kids riding on the back of sheep. It's fun for the whole family. It is going to be warmer than normal for this time of the year. And you know, for the trail riders coming in, like every year it's the same. It's cold and it's windy, or it's raining, or there's severe weather or something like that. Not this year. We expect that it's going to be warmer than normal. And in fact, this map I'm showing you right now is called the 6 to 10 day outlook. So this takes us from this upcoming weekend through early next week. And the red area there, which includes Texas, is the area of the highest probability for above average temperatures. And we could also look even beyond that at what's called the 8 to 14 day outlook, which takes us all the way through March 5th. So this is end of February, first week of March. And you'll see once again that pattern seems to be pretty firmly in place, with above average temperatures stretching from Texas all the way over to the East Coast and up to the Midwest. So that puts us most likely high temperatures near 80, you know, give or take upper 70s, low 80s for the next 2 weeks. So how do you like that? Maybe you love it, maybe you don't. With me, it is fine. Fine by me. All right. So right now, I'm going to edit in an interview that I did last week with a gentleman named Randy Landrino. And he is the president of an organization called US Inventor. And so we kind of got hooked up talking about the Chinese spy balloon, but also technology that gets transferred from American companies to Chinese companies. And there's sort of like this space race or technology race where he'll explain, and as you probably know, you know, there's some technology transfer that goes from the United States to China. And then it kind of comes back to, get this, from big balloons to small balloons to water balloons. You ever use those water balloons at parties where you blow them all up at the same time? Or, I mean, you fill them all up with water at the end of your garden hose? Well, that actually ties in with this interview that you're about to watch. So I'm going to go ahead and splice that in right now. So I hope you enjoy it. Here's my interview with the president of US Inventor.
China is very smart and about getting companies to agree to give them everything, to disclose everything in order to have that, to be involved in that market. Give us the secret sauce, right? And the trade secrets, everything. And short term, if from a short term viewpoint, a large corporation that does that, yeah, they're going to have maybe a lot of sales initially. Long term, Chinese corporations just take it over and get rid of the American corporation.
Is somebody trying to take over the moon? Is there a space race?
Yeah, well, I look, this is just my opinion. I think there is a space race for sure. I think that there's a lot of technology that is being shared. And again, this is opinion, but people smarter than me could probably give you the proof of it. Certainly, there's technology, as we know. We're very aware of stolen technology, right? That happens a lot. But again, where you have big tech entities that are trying to be in that Chinese market, they're giving up a lot of information in order to be in those markets, and that's information. Some of that information is probably information that is helping China in ways that we don't want to help them. And and part of what we want to do as well is, and of course, the more that they are up with us in innovation, and even maybe getting ahead of us, and that's a real risk, that they take the lead in key future technologies like quantum computing. Oh man, it's a huge threat to this country, and the answer is we simply need to go back to what we had before the system got screwed up, and let's let inventors in America with U.S. patents defend their intellectual property. And if the big guys want to license it, they can negotiate. And if the little guy wants to compete and have the next great American startup, that's another thing.
Let me just finally, I want to circle back around to the balloon and talk about balloons, actual party balloons, because wasn't that was one of the inventors who maybe is an example of having their intellectual property stolen. And it has to do with those party balloons that you hook up to the hose, right? And it blows up all of the, I mean, I've done this at my girl's party. It blows up all the balloons.
Unleash the thrill of summer with Bunch of Balloons. Now you can fill and tie over 100 water balloons in just 60 seconds.
So the inventor of that, his name is Josh Malone, and he actually, like a lot of inventors, I mean, he actually was working for Texas Instruments. He was like a computer chip engineer, so smart guy, right? But what he invented that was really successful is a toy. And toys are valuable. A good toy, like think about the Super Soaker water gun, right?
Right.
The inventor of that was a NASA scientist. He's a rocket scientist. But anyway, so Josh invented a bunch of balloons. It went totally viral, really took off, like ridiculously. Like his Kickstarter made close to $1 million on an inexpensive product. It was immediately, in fact, a company, the biggest as seen on TV company in America, an American company, bought one from his Kickstarter campaign, shot a commercial with it, and started flooding the market with his product. And this is kind of this is the bad side of crowdfunding. The big guys are watching crowdfunding to see what's hot. And unfortunately, this is again why we need to have a patent system where they have an incentive not to simply steal. But Josh fought him, and Josh thought, oh, for sure, this will be over quickly. It's such a simple case. They're infringing. It's a slam dunk. We'll win it, and they'll have to stop. Well, it turned into a 5-year-long battle that cost Josh and his investors millions and millions. It actually cost $20 million to finally beat these guys. Now, in the end, he won. He definitely won the case, and they had to go away, and they settled, and it was all good. But you know what? Josh and his investors could have lost everything. And it's because the system is so broken.
Unleash the thrill of summer with Bunch of Balloons. Now you can fill and tie